Today we'll be looking at a reading comprehension passage from the CAT 2019 Slot 2 question paper. The passage is all about bureaucracy and decentralization. In reading comprehension, it makes a lot of sense to go through the entire passage, understand the essence of the passage, and then look at the questions. Okay, so around the world, capital cities are disgorging bureaucrats. So disgorging refers to sending out. So around the world, capital cities are sending out your government officials. In the post-colonial fervor means passion. Fervor means passion. So in the post-colonial passion of the 20th centuries, coastal capitals picked by trade-focused empires were spurned. Spurned means rejected. Were spurned, rejected for regionally neutral new ones. So what does this mean? So if you take India, right? Vasco da Gama came to India on behalf of the Portuguese, set up a trading post at Goa. Similarly, the British came and set up two important strategic trading posts along the coast, that is at Bombay and Madras. So they preferred to have their capitals along the coast because they were primarily trade focused empires. So once Britain left, once France left, right, and now we have our own independence, right? So the states preferred to move their capitals from the coast to regionally neutral new ones. So this is the case all across the world. So the coastal capitals picked by those trade focused empires have been rejected for neutral ones, neutral new capitals which are favorable for the administration of that particular country or state. But decamping wholesale is costly and unpopular. Government these days prefer piecemeal dispersal. So piecemeal dispersal means they prefer to cut it up into bits and send it across. So I don't think what this statement refers to is, instead of sending the bureaucrats, in sending all of them in one stroke, right? Send them in small groups. Send them in small groups. The trend reflects how the world has changed. In past eras, when information traveled at a snail's pace, civil servants had to cluster together. But now desk workers can ping emails and video chat around the world, travel for face-to-face meetings. So you're all aware, right? Before, right? So many years, 30, 40 years back, you did not have your internet, you did not have your mobile phone. So to pass any important government act or any order, you had to have your civil servants together. You had to have them together. But now things have changed. You have emails, you have video chats, you can even travel quickly. Because transportation also has improved. So these statements talk about give you reasons as to why the civil servants need not be clustered together. Okay, so proponents of moving civil servants around. So proponents are those people who are in favor of. So those in favor of moving civil servants around promise countless benefits. It disperses the risk that a terrorist attack or natural disaster will cripple an entire government. So the thing is, one benefit that they are stating is, if imagine a terrorist attack happens and you have all your government officials in that particular building where the attack has happened, right? It will cripple the entire government if all the officials are affected due to that particular terrorist attack. So wonks in the stick will be inspired by new ideas that walled off capitals cannot conjure up. So if you take wonks in the stick, that is people with bright ideas, who are very, who want to change the system, and it will be better for them if they are able to implement their ideas. If they are given more autonomy, if they are elsewhere given more autonomy, they will be able to implement their ideas in a much better way than if they were all stuck together, in one same place, that is in the capital. So wonks in the stick will be inspired by new ideas that walled off capitals cannot conjure up. What it refers to is, it's better if you have your officials in different places in the state or in the country, so that they'll be able to implement their ideas than being stuck in one place. Because the junior officers will obviously have to pass their ideas to the senior officers, and if they want to implement something, only the senior officers will have to be able to give them a go ahead. So autonomous regulators, that is what, again, autonomous regulators are self-governing regulators, perform best far from the pressure and lobbying of the big city. So imagine a person is in charge of a district, he'll have more autonomy, he'll be able to implement decisions faster, and he will be far away from the pressure and the lobbying of the big capitals. So he has more autonomy. So some even hail a cure for ascendantism and populism. Similarly, the unloved bureaucrats. The unloved bureaucrats of faraway capitals will become as popular as firefighters once they mix with regular folk. Now, what do you mean by this? So now, if you take, you take a faraway town, they read news about the bureaucrats who are implementing policies in the capitals, implementing policy in the capital. So the thing is, I mean, the people in this faraway town. Do not care that much about the bureaucrats because they're far away. But similarly, imagine if these bureaucrats come to this particular place, come to this faraway town, they start implementing policies, doing good for the people. Soon, the local people in that particular town also will start admiring them, and these bureaucrats will become as popular as firefighters. So once they mix with the regular folk, so that is the reason. So the proponents are saying that it's better if bureaucrats from the big cities are also made to move around so that at least the local people will start to admire them also. So the main thing is, one is the benefits. What the proponents are talking about is, one is about the terrorist attack will cripple an entire government, so it's better if they're not together. Then if they're moved around, right, if they move around, they'll have more they'll be able to implement their ideas in a much better way than being stuck together all in one particular place. As well as even the unloved bureaucrats also will start being admired by people once they come to the smaller towns and other cities. So beyond these sunny visions, dispersing central government functions usually has three aims. So they're talking about three aims here. Three aims. One is to improve the lives. One is to improve lives. Then the other one is to save money, and the third one is to redress regional imbalances, okay, regional imbalances. So these are the primary three aims they're talking as to why you need to disperse your central government functions. Okay, go to the next page. So the first aim is improving living conditions has a long pedigree. So the first aim, improving living conditions, has a long pedigree, means it has a long history. So it's a long history. After the one second. So after the Second World War, Britain moved thousands of civil servants to agreeable English country towns as London was being rebuilt. But swapping the capital for something smaller is not always agreeable. Attrition rates can exceed 80%. So if you see this, right, one is you need to improve their living conditions. So after the Second World War, Britain moved thousands of civil servants to agreeable English country towns as London was being rebuilt. But swapping the capital for something smaller is not always agreeable. Attrition rates. So there's a very high chance that people will leave. And in some cases, they've said that attrition rates can exceed 80%. Attrition rates can exceed 80%. The second reason to pack bureaucrats off is to save money. Office space costs far more in capital. So one is see, you improve the living conditions, it should give them an impetus to stay there in the smaller town. That is one thing. Another thing is, when it comes to saving money, you very well know, right, office space costs a lot of money in the capitals than in the smaller towns. So you can save much more if you send your bureaucrats to the smaller towns. Similarly, agencies that are moved elsewhere can often recruit better workers on lower salaries. So in your smaller towns and cities, you can get better resources, and the thing is, their salaries will be much lower than the salaries that you have to pay for similar people in the capital. So one thing in this passage, we talk about the improving the living conditions, improving the living conditions, and the other one that we're talking about is saving money in this passage, saving money. So the 2 points here is this, and the second one is to rebalance regional inequality. So what is the meaning of this? So the thing is, look at the word itself. Look at those three words. Rebalance regional inequality is, no, you should not have all the power focused in one particular place. You should not have all the power focused in the capital. Balance it out, spread it across, across different regions. That is what Norway has done. Norway treats federal jobs as a resource every region deserves to enjoy. It should not be that, 50% of all the government staff should be in the capital. It should be equally distributed. So that's what they are saying. Treats federal jobs as a resource every region deserves to enjoy, like profits from oil, where government jobs go. So what it believes is, if government jobs go someplace, obviously development will happen. As a result of development, private ones also will follow. Sometimes the aim is to fulfill the potential of a country's second tier cities. So apart from your capital city, it's important that your country second tier cities also develop. So unlike poor remote places, bigger cities can make the most of relocated. So unlike, see, one is you have your capital cities, that is your biggest cities, capital cities, then you have your slightly smaller cities, and then your really poor and remote towns. Okay, so that what they're saying is, unlike the really poor remote towns, the slightly bigger cities can make the most of relocated government agencies. That is, when you relocate government agencies from your capitals to slightly smaller towns. In this case, it'll be bigger cities when compared to the really poor and remote places. Because the reason being is linking them to local universities and businesses and supplying a better educated workforce. Because the slightly bigger cities will have a better educated workforce, they'll have more universities, they'll already have businesses there, and if you move key government agencies there, the place will develop even more. So after some time, it'll be almost on par with your capital. It'll be almost on par with your capital. The decision, and they're given one example here. The decision in 1946 to set up America's Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta rather than Washington. So instead of setting it up in Washington, D.C., they set it up in Atlanta. What has happened is, because they set it up in Atlanta, it transformed Atlanta into a hub for health sector research. So this happened in 1946. So instead of setting it up in Washington, D.C., they set it up in this. So if you see, right, these two paragraphs talk about improving living conditions, saving money. This one talks about improving living conditions. Important that wherever they move, the conditions should be proper. Saving money, obviously the bigger capitals more means the capitals means more rent you'll have to spend. Labor also cost is higher. Smaller towns, smaller cities, the rent is much lesser, and even you can recruit effective people at much lower salaries. The third part is about rebalancing the regional inequality, that is spreading the jobs evenly across places. They've given an example of Norway, and they've given another example, like, where a big city can make the most of relocated government agencies. But then now they're talking about a dilemma. The dilemma is obvious. You pick small poor towns and areas of high unemployment, get new jobs, but it is hard to attract the most qualified workers. So one they're facing a dilemma. One issue is, you pick your small and poor towns. But now, if you pick your small and poor towns, what will happen is, it'll be difficult for you to attract highly qualified people. That is your good talent, right? You won't be able to attract your highly qualified workers. Or another thing is, for larger cities with infrastructure and better qualified workers, and the country's most deprived areas see little benefit. So another option is, you select the bigger cities, the larger cities with good infrastructure, good workforce. But then what will happen is, when you concentrate on such cities, the cities with which are much smaller, the poorer towns will get affected. That is the thing. So this is the dilemma. One is, you pick your small poor towns, but then it is hard, you won't be able to attract the most qualified workers. Another one is, this is one part. The other one is, you offer larger cities with infrastructure, but then the country's most deprived areas see little benefit. Okay, so this is one dilemma which this passage talks about. Others content. So now this is the people who are against. These are the people who are against decentralization. Others contend that decentralization begets corruption, because by making government agencies less accountable, you are aware, right? So when you have more autonomy, you have more power, obviously it can result in corruption. A study in America found that state government corruption, so locally, when the governance is with the local states, right, than with the federal system, state government corruption is worse than when the state capital is isolated. Okay, and journalists who tend to live in the bigger cities become less watchful of those in power. So journalists, as per the last statement, journalists are more or less to live in the bigger cities. So the bigger cities will be under more scrutiny than the smaller cities, because the journalists prefer to be in the bigger cities. So one thing which they're primarily talking about is decentralization results in corruption. Another thing is they're talking about journalists will not be able to focus on the smaller cities because more or less they live in the bigger cities. So if you look at this passage talks about initially how the capital cities moved from the coast to regionally neutral ones. Then it talks about the benefits of moving your civil servants, that is they have more autonomy. Then they will be able to get new ideas, implement the new ideas. Even unloved bureaucrats will be admired by people once they move to the other smaller cities. Then the three aims for decentralization and moving around your bureaucrats: one is to improve the living conditions, saving money. Okay, but when you improve the living conditions, you should move them such that it's agreeable for the people who are moving, save money. Then third one is about rebalancing regional inequality. And then we are talking about a dilemma that you pick small poor towns, but then you won't be able to attract the highly qualified workers. Then that is one thing. The other thing is you opt for the larger cities. It has good infrastructure, it has highly qualified people also, but the only problem is these smaller towns won't get developed. And then there are people who are against decentralization. The reason is because they say that one reason is they say is it results in corruption, and another reason they state is that journalists who tend to live in the bigger cities won't be able to concentrate on the smaller cities. So we look at the questions. So we look at the first one. So according to the passage, colonial powers located their capitals, is slightly an easy one. To showcase their power and prestige not given in the passage. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay. And then 1 second. Okay. No. Then the next part is densest population. No, because it was primarily trade focused empires. So this is also no. Based on political expectancy, no. So this is your answer. The reason colonial where did colonial powers locate their capitals? In order to promote their trading interests, because it was clearly given that they were trade focused empires. So for the first one, fourth is your answer. The second one, the dilemma mentioned in the passage refers to keeping government agencies in the largest city with good infrastructure or moving them to a remote area with few amenities. Keeping government agencies in the largest city. No, see, the primarily, if you see right in this passage, they're talking about the dilemma. What is the dilemma they're facing? One is you move it to to smaller, poorer, remote towns, but then you won't get highly qualified. So you move it to your smaller, poorer towns, you won't get highly qualified workers. Another thing is you move it to your larger cities, not the larger cities. But then the problem is your smaller towns won't develop. So they're not talking about the largest city here. No. So this is wrong. Then second one is concentrating on decongesting large cities or focusing on boosting employment in relatively larger cities. No, this is not what is given. Third one, encouraging private enterprises to locate to smaller towns and not incentivizing them in order to keep government. No, this is not directly given. Look at the fourth one. Relocating government agencies to boost growth in remote areas with poor amenities. Yes. Remote areas with poor amenities or to relatively larger area cities with is perfectly. This is the dilemma that is you have your larger cities, they have good amenities. When that happens, your smaller towns won't develop. Another thing is you move with them to the remote areas, but you won't have good infrastructure, you won't have proper workforce. So this is your answer. So the dilemma mentioned is clearly given in the fourth one. So if you look at the third one, people who support decentralizing central government functions are least likely to cite which of the following reasons for that. That is least likely. That is more or less they're not going to agree with this. That means you will have three options for which they agree with, and the fourth one will be one option, which will be the option where they don't agree at all with. Okay. So more independence could be enjoyed by regulatory bodies located away from political centers. People who support. So more independence. This is something which they're going to agree with, right? This is something which they're going to. One second, going to agree with. This is something which they're going to agree with. Okay. Okay, this is something which they're going to agree with. The next part, policymakers may benefit from fresh thinking in a new environment. That is only that wonks and a stick. So if they go out, right, they go out from the walled up capitals, they'll obviously have more autonomy. They'll be able to think a much better way. So this is also agree. So the previous statement is also agree. This is also agree. It reduces expenses as infrastructure costs and salaries are lower in small cities. Yes, this is one of the aims. No, one aim is to improve living conditions. Another thing is to save money. So this is also a yes. So obviously these three statements are statements which the people who support will be more or less in favor of, because the question is are least likely to agree. These are all three statements which obviously they'll agree with. The fourth one, it could weaken the nexus between, nexus means connection between your bureaucrats and media in the capital. There's nothing about this. See, if you see, the only thing which they have spoken about media is, if in case you move a lot of bureaucrats to the smaller cities, the media won't be able to, look on them, see what they're doing, because the media is more or less in the bigger cities, that is in your capitals. Okay, so this is something which is not directly given in the passage. So obviously the author will has not spoken about this, so least likely to cite will be this condition. So more independence, this is talks about your autonomy regulators. Second one is policymakers may benefit from fresh thinking. Yes, instead of sitting up in walled up capitals, they'll be able to think in a much better way, implement their ideas. It reduces expenses as infrastructure costs. Yes. So in case you have a doubt as to where these statements come, if you go back to the passage, so it comes here. Wonks and the stick will be inspired. So it clearly comes here, and comes here. Then autonomous regulators comes here. So as well as then save money comes in this particular paragraph. So it's given here. What about the fourth one? The long pedigree of the aim to shift everything. I told you, right? It's a long history of the aim to shift civil servants to improve the living standards implies that this move. And they've given an example of Britain during World War II, where they moved them to agreeable, they moved the officials to agreeable English country towns, because London was being rebuilt after World War II. So the long history of the pedigree of the aim to shift civil servants to improve the thing implies that this move is not a new idea. They given an example also for that, right? Why is it not a new idea? Because they tried it out during. I mean, they've given an example where it was tried out even during World War II, but then attrition rates can exceed even 80%. That is what given, and this has been tried in the past. So this answer is your answer. It has become a common practice in several countries worldwide. They have not given this statement directly in the passage anywhere. Is supported by politicians and the ruling elites. No, it's not direct. We saw the entire passage is not given anywhere. Takes a long time to achieve. Maybe, see, all these three statements may be correct, but it is not being given in our passage that we saw just now. Okay. So the answer is, so according to the author, relocating government agencies has not always been a success for all of the following reasons except. So relocating government agencies has not always been a success for all of the following reasons except. So you must find out. So there are, out of these four sentences, there are three sentences for which it has not been a success. It has not been a success. So one of them is an exception. So there are three statements, but it has not been a success. That is, you relocate your government agencies and you have not seen success. So you need to find out three statements. That will be three statements. The odd one or the fourth one will be the odd one out. So because that will be your statement, which is your exception. So a rise in pollution levels. So relocating government agencies has not always been a success. If you remember, right, when we saw the last passage, the people who are against decentralization, one thing is they said is it results in corruption. It results in corruption. And another thing is journalists who tend to live in the bigger cities become less watchful of those in power. As well as a dilemma. You go to your smaller towns, you won't get people who are qualified, and if you go to the slightly larger cities, the more deprived areas won't be able to develop. So if you see the options also given here, the fifth one, if you see the options for the fifth one, a rise in pollution level, anywhere given about pollution levels and congestion? No, right, it's not given anywhere. So if you see this, this is just 1 second. So this will be no. Okay, and the next part will be the difficulty of attracting talented, well-skilled people in more river. This is given. This is one of the failures, right? See, the reason is you move them to the smaller towns, but there is, a very, very poor chance of getting good qualified people. So then, increased avenues of corruption. It's clearly given in the passage. High staff losses as people may not be prepared to move to smaller town. That's talking about the attrition rate. Attrition rate. If the place that they're moving to is not favorable for them, obviously they will quit. So, but the pollution levels, talk about pollution levels is not given anywhere. So, rise in pollution levels, that is something which is not given as one of the reasons as to why relocating government agencies has not been a success. But the other three statements are perfectly correct. Fine.